All right. Hey, everybody. TG here. Let's see. It is January 13th, Tuesday, when I'm recording this, and wanted to make sure that anybody out there knew that tonight I'm going to be doing a state of the market webinar. It's going to be free. Anybody who is outside of the Simpler Trading ecosphere can just sign up here at simplertrading.com/SOTM, state of the market. There should be lots of things out there: emails, X, YouTube, I don't know, Instagram, stuff like that. We're putting stuff out there. I always just want to make sure that you guys are aware of the things that we're doing in case you want to come in and tune in for a little bit. So got that. And I want to make sure you guys see that. I'm going to be telling you guys kind of what I'm seeing out there so far. The market has started off strongly. I'm pretty happy to see that. Got some statistics to show you and some metrics, and then kind of some of the sectors that I see that are going to be working. I want to say in 2026, but of course, we always know the market can change. And so we'll just talk about kind of the foreseeable future and what I see out there. All right, so we'll put that away. And then the market, let me also make sure I get this thing situated here because I want to be able to keep my eye on another area of the market while I'm doing this. And then let's see. So the other thing that I'm looking at, I didn't see this until my coworker Sam. You guys know him, Sam Seamus. He said that the SPX was at the 618 Fibonacci extension. I was like, huh, yeah. So I put that on my chart too, and yeah, not wrong. He definitely saw that, and right there. So he's kind of wondering if the market's going to be coming down a little bit. I think that would be fair. I don't know if this is going to be where we get a big pullback or correction, but I could certainly see that the 618 extension could be an area of resistance or an area where price has to kind of chew through some things. So I wouldn't be too surprised if maybe the market gets a little bit tired up here or has to consolidate. The other thing to kind of consider, and I've been talking about this for a few weeks simply because it has been persisting for a few weeks, is that the daily Moxie indicator is below zero. The challenge with this is it can mean one of two things. And because it's a daily chart, it can take a long time for this to happen, especially since it's on the SPX, which is a very large and slow index. And so usually when the Moxie indicator goes below zero, that's a bearish thing, or at least it means that price is not really ready to go up right now. And you can see that for the most part, price has been going up. We're actually making some new highs over the last few days. And so if this is a bearish thing, then what that means is that energy and momentum are now negative, and eventually price is going to come down because, well, how can price go up if energy and momentum are negative? On the flip side, if this isn't something that's too bad, it really just means that the index and price has been going sideways. And when you go sideways, you have no momentum. And so you start to run out of momentum and you can actually go negative. Now, if this were that, and this is kind of more of a neutral situation, and let's say price, the SPX consolidated and went sideways for a while, and we're eventually going to resolve higher, then this was just a resting area. Momentum kind of cycled lower, took a break, and then what we want to see is this thing actually, firing again. It can fire new, and we want to watch that and see if that's eventually going to happen. So the way we kind of figured this out is we really just kind of have to give it some time when we have to look at the lower time frames to see how this goes. And for now, the hourly Moxie indicator is looking pretty good. And of course, we know that price is generally looking pretty good. And we've been making some new highs in here. So for now, I'm going to be saying we're good, we're okay. We've been seeing a lot of strength out there. The small caps have been doing pretty well, and even crypto is starting to warm up a little bit. So yeah, I'm seeing a fair amount of sectors out there that are looking pretty good. The one exception would be the mega caps. They are not doing so great. And so the question is, are we going to be getting a rotation? Can the market continue going up even if the mega caps are not participating on the FANG stocks, if they're not participating? Now, there are other large cap stocks that are doing great, and so they are what's holding up the market. But those FANG stocks, are they going to be a bellwether? Are they kind of telling us what's coming? And they're almost like the canary in the coal mine, which is a little bit opposite of what we usually see. Or is it just that money's kind of leaving them from protection and defense and actually making its way out into the market and broadening out a little bit? So this is some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about in the state of the market address that I'm going to be doing 15 minutes after the close today. So we'll dive into that a little bit further, show you guys kind of what I'm seeing out there, and see if we can kind of get a bigger picture thing going on. So yeah, that being said, remember just we're at the 618, could be a little bit of turbulence as we kind of have to navigate that. And then if we look at the IWM, hey, generally is looking pretty good. The only thing I'm going to say, and this is what I just posted to the Moxie room just a little bit ago, is that we have had a really, really great move over the last, what is it now, 2 weeks, basically, since the beginning of the new year. This is fantastic. However, not everything goes up forever, except for, I guess, gold and silver. But yeah, we're looking at this, and I think that we should just kind of be prepared that maybe the markets get a little bit tired up here. It doesn't mean it's going to be exhausted entirely, but just it's had a really big move for 2 weeks. It's been doing a great job following the 15-minute time frame, and we're starting to hit some kind of upper extensions up here on the daily chart. And really, all that means is we've followed the 15-minute time frame, but that's a 15-minute time frame. It's not the strongest time frame. And what we can see is we're starting to actually pull away from support on things like the hourly time frame. So I think we just kind of need to back up the time frames and say, okay, the nearest term time frame has been strong, but now it's kind of time to hand off the baton to maybe a different time frame. And that's kind of where I'm looking at this and saying, we might be getting a little bit of a pullback or a flag or some digestion over the next few days, simply because I'm starting to see these things kind of tucker out a little bit. I am also seeing the VIX starting to warm up a little bit. Now, I also hear that what is it? So tomorrow, the 14th, the Supreme Court is supposed to have another opinion out there. And again, some people are talking about, well, is this the time that they're going to talk about the tariffs? I don't know. I feel like we all kind of got hoodwinked last Friday when everybody out there was talking about the Supreme Court, and they're going to have their opinion on Friday, and it's going to be about tariffs. And it's like, I guess not. I feel like I don't know how we all got kind of trolled into that, but a lot of people were talking about it, and then they just didn't. And very, very few people even said, well, they don't have to. It's optional. They don't even tell us what they're going to do. So people kind of just gin that up a lot. But it feels like it's kind of happening again. I know it was always the possibility, and I feel like people are talking about that again. That tomorrow is another opinion. So I guess we're just going to be surprised whenever this comes out. I guess we'll have no idea. So yeah, big surprise whenever it's going to come out. Hope you guys are just ready for that. I kind of feel like maybe the market's going to be able to sniff out when it's actually going to be time for them to talk about the tariffs. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. As I said, it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg, the news or the charts. So I kind of feel like the market's going to be able to figure this out a little bit better than we might. So, there's always somebody that knows something, right? So we got that. I'm kind of thinking that the market's looking a little bit tired up here. And if we look at the internals, this is the other thing. If you just kind of look at the trajectory over the last 2 weeks, the the order flow, you can see here we've had some really strong order flow, but you can see here we've been getting kind of less and less and less. I think this is really the kind of the key point that I'm pointing out is that the order flow has been kind of becoming weaker and weaker, and this usually kind of precedes some sort of pullback or consolidation, or just we need to be aware that the market's kind of at these upper extensions. Maybe not the greatest time to start going all in on some fresh positions. This is where maybe, hey, if you need to take some profits because we have had some big moves, or if you're itching to get long on some stuff, maybe just wait because maybe there's going to be a pullback at some point with that. And you can even see here the advanced decline. Kind of, hey, we had a surge, a little bit of a pullback, and then a surge and a little bit of a pullback. But if you put these together, you can kind of see that the trajectory has been lower, 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 and we're kind of down here again. So it does seem as though I'm kind of getting those vibes that maybe the market's going to be correcting a little bit. That doesn't necessarily mean that you need to get out of all your positions. It just means kind of be prepared. Maybe don't chase things to the long side. And in fact, I feel like today I was seeing a fair amount of pullbacks already starting. For example, if we look at Amazon, you can see here we got a little bit of a pullback starting. That's okay. We got within, well, about $2. We got within about $2 of where my target was. I was aiming for about 250. That's fine. We had a call debit spread. I actually had a longer term thing. I had like 40 something days on this thing because I thought it was going to take a while for Amazon to get up there. So I definitely, I mean, boy, got up there in a hurry. We made 50% on that. Quick, pretty easy trade. And same kind of thing. You can see here that Amazon's just getting a little bit extended. And right there, it's breaking the 15-minute 50, starting to come down. In fact, you can look at Amazon, and Amazon is kind of acting as that example of what I'm trying to point out with IWM, thinking that this thing should probably come down a little bit. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. If IWM over the next few days actually does what Amazon does, that would be my expectation. So kind of be prepared for a situation like that. Okay, then let me kind of see what else you guys talking about over here. Yeah, Alan, good to see you. Mirza, thank you. Weekend golfer. Yeah, we're talking about yeah. Let's talk about the VIX for a little bit. This was another thing. So initially, last week, when we had the whole idea about the Supreme Court coming out there and talking about tariffs, you could see that generally the VIX was kind of working its way up. Now, when I was on the mic and I was talking about this to the Moxie traders and whatever else out there, I said actually it could kind of go both ways. I could see this thing getting rejected by the hourly 50 and coming down, especially if it's kind of like a no big deal. But if it was a big deal, I could see price, breaking through it and continuing to the upside. So for the moment, you could see that when that was kind of a nothing burger for the whole Supreme Court situation, you could see that that came on back down here. So I was like, oh yeah, cool, confirmed that it was kind of a no big deal, nothing burger situation, and there you go. However, now that that's kind of passed, we're kind of seeing that the VIX is kind of holding up here again. It's kind of holding the hourly 50, kind of working its way back through these moving averages, kind of closing the distance between the 8 and 21. So, there might be a little bit of, I could see the potential for the VIX to come up a little bit if I'm correct about the market maybe getting a little bit tired and needing to come down a little bit. Maybe the VIX is also staying elevated because again, kind of um, talks about the Supreme Court opinion coming out again, maybe tomorrow, whatever. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else going on this week. Maybe you guys can let me know if I'm missing something this week for any economic data. I know Trump's kind of been doing some rattling with Iran and the protesters over there, so that could be a little bit something. There's just always going to be some geopolitical tension going on here. I think we just need to understand that this is going to be a very vocal and very active administration, which of course can pose its challenges with us trying to navigate the market. But for the most part, the moves are kind of wrapped up in the stocks, in the tickers, in the charts. We can do this, and so that's where I'm going to be talking about again in the state of the market stuff. And for anybody, I see the eyeballs kind of growing in the out there in the let's see, where is this thing? Where is it? This? Yeah, there you go. So out there on the social media, I just want to make sure you guys know I'm doing a state of the market today, 15 minutes after the market closes. Come over and you can just check out all the social medias to find the sign up link if you guys want to check it out. It's gonna be free for you. So got that. TK, yeah, maybe PPI, but CPI came out. So honestly, CPI came out cool. So I don't really expect any problems for PPI. Yeah, brighter side, I did see Trump cancels meetings with Iranian officials. Yeah, okay, again, so be it. I don't see that as being too much of a market mover situation. No, not yet. The market has actually been quite resilient given all of our political activities out there. So yeah, just kind of aware that the VIX is kind of holding up here. We'll have to see if something happens over the next few days to where the VIX just completely breaks lower and the market goes up, or maybe we actually get the VIX to kind of pop up a little bit and then fade. And I'm kind of thinking that's the more likely move here, simply because I am seeing that the market's a little bit elevated and maybe a little bit a little bit tired up here. So that's kind of what I'm thinking through that. Okay, let's talk about some of the mags because, yeah, this has been an area that is just not really doing much. I mean, other than Google, which has been doing well, And then Amazon had its move, but now Amazon needs a pullback. But like Microsoft not doing well, Meta's not doing well, Apple's maybe ready for a bounce, but it's been dropping pretty harshly. And we know Netflix is still kind of um, Netflix isn't really tradable until they probably figure out that Paramount or that Warner Brothers deal and that whole situation. Yeah, brighter side. It's never a great thing when the government says, "Here, we're here to help. We're on our way." Right? Wasn't that the Ronald Reagan thing? The scariest words to come out of a politician's mouth is, "The government's on its way to help." We're here from the government. We're here to help. Something like that. Yeah. Let's see. So, crowd. Yeah, the mags look like higher lows and higher highs. I think you're talking about right here. And the problem with that kraut is that this could be a bear flag. So that is actually one of the things that has been challenging for me over my career to when I was learning and kind of stuff. Because if you do, you take an idea like that, you're like higher lows, higher highs, and you're thinking we're in an uptrend. But that's kind of the crazy thing about the market, or at least charts, is that when you see something like that, it can actually kind of be like this kind of backwards backing and filling, and it's actually a bear flag. It's a call it a pullback in a downtrend, or a pull up in a downtrend. And so what you see is you come down like this, you get oversold, and you like back yourself up into resistance, and then you roll over again. So yeah, I'm just gonna make sure you kind of know that we put that out there, because sure, if you're looking for a downtrend, yes, lower lows, lower highs, and then surprise, you get a move. But then you get a bear flag, and that is the difference of what's happening out there. Is then you get bear flags. I'm trying to see where else can we find maybe like right in through there. Let me see if I can pull that up and. Mm, Yeah, kind of like this. Let's show that. This kind of like a bear flag right there. That's a bounce and a downtrend. So there's right here. You can see here there's a bounce into a downtrend. And so that's kind of an example of what we might be seeing with the mags right now. Is that situation. Yeah. So yeah, that's one of those tricky things. There are certain patterns that you kind of have to learn that are very counterintuitive, because you're like, well, higher high, higher low. Why isn't it working? Well, because it could be something else. I can't say for sure. It's been very neutral generally, but it just doesn't look great, and it is underneath moving averages, and all the Moxie indicators on the daily and hourly are below zero. And so yeah, it doesn't look awesome. I would be cautious with these things, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is this a precursor to the market getting weaker, or is it something else? Is it just resting, and is money going elsewhere? Okay, so let me see. Yeah, yeah, the mags. And if we look at something like FNGS or FNGU, you can kind of see the same thing. It hasn't really been good, but it hasn't been terrible. And we're really kind of at this level, and we're trying to figure out is that a bullish support, or is it just a resting area until price goes lower? So I'm going to remain on kind of the neutral to weak side. I have been looking at this kind of double bottom. I have been looking at this positive divergence, but you can see we're just really not getting much traction. So even though we're getting what appears to be some positive signals on, say, the hourly chart, those could be temporary, and really we're just getting some, like a bounce in a downtrend. We've kind of come into some support, we kind of move up a little bit, run into resistance, and then we can roll over. I think actually a good example of that is if we look at Ethereum, and you look at the Ethereum back here, and you can see how Ethereum, so compare Ethereum, and I think Bitcoin was kind of doing the same thing, but compare Ethereum here to the mags and to FNGS, which is also the FANG stocks. And what you can see is we've got this support level here, and you can see price came down to it, and then kind of went sideways, bounced a little bit, and then you can see rolled over, and you can see here bounced a little bit, and it looked like there was a double bottom here and looked like it wanted to go up, but notice that after the bounce, it rolled over and broke back down. And so that's where I'm kind of like, well, I've seen this pattern before, and it's not bear or it's not bullish. And we need to make sure that if we are concerned about the mags, or if we're concerned about the market, and if the mags are kind of telling us, giving us a heads up, we just need to be aware of that. We need to be aware that potentially they're coming into a prior support area, and they could be temporarily holding it until they break lower. So just something to keep watching on that. Yeah, Val, over there on Facebook, yeah, the market's very donkey today. Yeah, yes, I would agree with that, and I think again that's because we are kind of at the 618 retracement or Fibonacci extension for the SPX, and I think we're just we've had several days of the market moving up, and I think we've kind of reached a point where the market's getting a little bit tired in this area. And if we look at let's see, SMH. And you can see here's the other thing. So the semiconductors don't have done a great job. In fact, they are actually up today. That's actually pretty impressive. But perhaps we are starting to run into a little bit of resistance up here. Again, we've been up for about 2 weeks, and maybe we're getting a little bit tired. So just be prepared that we've had a nice move, and these can go for a while, but also at some point they like to kind of come back down, test some support, and do all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Emil, FNGD is the inverse ETF for the mags and the FANG stocks. Um, yeah, kind of looks like it wants to go up because it is over these moving averages, but we also know that the market's been down, so sure. And maybe one thing to note is that there is a lot of volume coming into this, so there's certainly possibilities of this thing, doing something to the downside and to the upside for this thing. So yeah, certainly possible. But and like I said, we're just gonna have to keep watching that and see if that's gonna be a thing as this kind of happens. Okay. Um, I mean, let's see. I think somebody was asking about Tesla. Oh, Apple. Yeah, let's do Apple real quick. Bear flag. I'm kind of leaning towards Apple bouncing first. You can kind of see making its way up. So I'm a little bit mixed. I think I think that if this were to be a bear flag, I think I want to see this thing go a little bit higher. Usually, what I'm looking at, here's a couple things. So, Michael, I'll show you this. So we come over to, say, the weekly chart. Part of the reason why I'm leaning towards Apple bouncing first is not only is it at this price area, it's also at the weekly 21. Now, of course, the weekly 21 doesn't have to hold, but it's usually a thing, and it's a moving average that people start paying attention to. And so, yes, I think that that is something that we need to be aware of. If you're looking for more downside, well, it might be hitting an area where there could be some support. People are going to be looking at that and be like, "Oh, weekly 21, I'm probably going to want to buy that." And so we look over here. The other thing is if we look at the daily chart, notice how this down move was so fast, significant. It got a little oversold. It actually started pulling away from moving averages and getting outside of those outer boundaries, and I think that's why we bounced. So the question is, are we going to bounce more before we roll over, kind of like this, or are we really going to just bounce a little bit and kind of continue to be down? That's the $64,000 question. We don't really know. All we can kind of do is follow our moving averages, follow our indicators, and kind of follow these tools. And so I'm kind of leaning towards I think it needs to go higher before it goes lower. And that would be my thought because you're barely getting back into the daily 8. I kind of think we should go a little bit higher before coming back down if that's what it's going to do. So I'm not sure I'd want to short it right here. If you wanted to short it, obviously this would have been a good short. Right now, we're kind of in no man's land. We're kind of right in the middle of anything, and not sure if I really want to. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'd really want to short that yet. Okay, so then let's see, and then I think somebody was asking about Tesla. Yeah, so Jay, where can you see my state of the market update this afternoon? Well, go to X. I know we're posting it all over there. If you go to Profit Pilot on my X page, and then I don't know if we have it posted on Simpler, but maybe you can probably go to Simpler's X page, so Simpler Trading X. Basically, any kind of social medias. Otherwise, I think the website is, looks, I think it's, let's see, where is it? Simplertrading.com/SOTM, state of the market. Okay, so then Tesla, I overstayed my welcome on that first trade. So we actually had a pretty good trade on through this one. The tough part was it was during the holidays, and so I wasn't exactly looking as closely as I probably should have. And I was a little bit misled given its strength when everything else was kind of coming down. So Tesla was actually looking pretty good when the rest of the market was, a little iffy. It's like, man, this actually looks great. So if the market gets strong, then maybe Tesla goes even more. And it just didn't. It just didn't. You can see this thing pulled back, and then it just pulled back even harder. The one good thing I'll kind of say about this is you can see it went exactly to this lower area. I mean, it did a really kind of a nice bounce. So I did hang on to my option trade on this one a little bit longer. I got out of it yesterday on this bounce. Those of you in the Moxie room, you guys know why I got out. Number one, this was a inverse trampoline move so far on the hourly chart. So that tells me that most likely, if this is going to go higher, we're probably going to have to pull back first. And number two, you guys know we coming right up into that daily 21. I thought, I've got 3 or 4 days left on this option series. And if we're going to go higher, I think we need to go down before we go higher. And I'm not sure I have enough time for that to work. So I basically got out at the peak of this bounce and, salvaged it a little bit. I think we got out about minus negative 48%. So, could have done better on that one, but that's kind of where we're at. And I think the next big opportunity I want to see for Tesla is whenever this thing actually breaks out to the upside, because I do think that Tesla is still bullish big picture, but as you can see, it's been very, very range bound. And so that's kind of the thing I think got me, is because I was looking for this thing to break out, and I thought we're going to go a little bit higher, and instead, nope, it says no, I just want to come right back down to where I was. So yeah, it kind of threw me off a little bit on that one, but I think eventually this will be a really, really great trade. Brighter say, "Oh, you think Tesla breaks out this afternoon?" Well, that's what makes a market. Different opinions. Let me put it this way: if you're right, then price is going to have to continue to hold the 15-minute 50. If you're not right, then price will break back below the 15-minute 50 or just not go anywhere. So I'm kind of looking at the bigger picture, less of a day trade type situation. And I'm kind of looking for the bigger arc where we kind of come up like this. Maybe we come down a little bit like that. And then I want to see if we actually go. So you might be right to maybe we go a little bit higher before we come back down. But I think generally speaking, I kind of think this general area is kind of the peak of the apogee. And then I want to see if this thing kind of comes down a little bit. Those are my thoughts. Okay. Yeah. And then speaking of looking strong, Ethereum and some of the cryptos, actually most of the cryptos. Yeah, I think there's something here. We're doing pretty well. I've been messaging quite a bit about Ethereum into the Moxie group. So yeah, anybody out there on the social medias, you guys now know that I'm looking pretty bullishly on the cryptos. So I've got some things that I'm going to be talking about in the state of the market tonight to elaborate on this a little bit more, and I'll show you guys kind of my targets with some of these things and my expectations of what could be happening with this. I'm also happy to see that when the market seems like it wants to pull back or get a little tired up here, this seems to actually be leading the way today. That is great. That's really fantastic to see this. Of course, it's not going to be in a straight line, but I'm really, really happy to see that this is starting to work out. And so far, ever since the new year kind of started, we've really been doing a good job on BMNR, Ethereum, MSTR. We're doing well with this, so very happy about it. Okay, guys, let's see. I'm going to be wrapping that up as far as the social media session. So remember, we got, I got all those eyeballs out there on YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that. Just remember to come over here, simplertrading.com/SOTM. Again, go look at Simpler Trading's X page, my Profit Pilot X page, if you guys want to come into this, and we'll do a deep dive. I put some finishing touches on it last night, since we're always having moving parts in the market, and it should be a good show. It'll take about an hour. I've got about a little over 30 slides. And then if you have any questions at the end, I'll be happy to answer that for you. So let me wrap up the social media session. Then I'll come back over to you guys in the Moxie room, and we'll just carry on